Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We went to movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweety and Sweety are here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Sent Us podcast, your favorite podcast where two Sweety sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweety.
And I'm Sweety.
It's Tom Cruise week, everybody.
What?
I just called it.
It is not.
It's Tom Cruise week. We haven't done a Tom Cruise movie yet, which is like kind of amazing because, you know, he was kind of king of the 80s, if you will.
He's the king of the 80s.
I was going through his IMDb and it was like, whoa.
Check it out.
And I had seen most of those movies because, you know, Tom Cruise is pretty, like, decent. He's a decent actor.
I mean, I haven't seen a ton of his movies, like his 80s movies, I mean.
Yeah.
I think they were just too old for me when I was little, and they were always movies that like you and Liz watched, and then I kind of was like, "What's this?" And I was like, "This is too above my maturity level,"
Totally.
and I didn't watch them, so that's why I never saw this or Top Gun or
right. So
like,
this
any of
is
those other
totally
ones.
why this movie comes into play because we did Cocktail. And yes, so this movie is from 1988. I was much too young to be watching this, but would catch sneak peeks of it on, you know, network television and be like, this is the coolest movie ever. Tom Cruise is so cool. Like, I don't know, it just was like this like 80s. It didn't feel obviously nostalgic then because this was probably like 1990. So it didn't like feel nostalgic or anything like that, as it really is a very 80s movie looking back at it now. But yeah, just like Tom Cruise when I was little seemed like such a cool guy to me. Whereas now you're like creepy Scientologist. And it's kind of amazing that like arc that he has had. I still like really enjoy his movies. Like we just saw, when we saw Black Panther, they're making another Mission Impossible. And Sweetie turned to me and she's like, we'll see that. Because we really enjoyed the last one.
I know, we saw the last one, and we've seen all of them, I think.
we have.
And I, like, always have a good time during them, and we always come out, and we're always like, that was decent.
Yeah, it's just...
He's just a good action star.
He's a good action star and just good middle of the road, always does the same thing.
Right.
He's not breaking any bounds.
He's dependable.
I think, like, that turn in Tropic Thunder was, like, one thing that, like, blew people out of the water because it was, like, something he would, like, never do. But he knows what he's good at, and he just keeps doing it. Also, motherfucker does not age. Like, what is going
So
on?
creepy. What's happening? Yeah. I mean...
Because, I mean, I don't know how old he was in this. I mean, we could do the math, but I'm guessing, like...
I'll pass. I'm not great at math, so...
Late 20s?
At my maths.
So, for me, this is peak Tom Cruise cute. Had a small crush on him. I don't know if you've seen the diary entry that I published on Instagram like a couple years ago where I listed my top 5 crushes. He was number 4. I'll repost that tonight. So he's in there.
Wait, who's number 1?
Leonardo DiCaprio, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. This is right after Titanic, 1997.
Right. I never had a thing for him. I don't know. It's just, he's not my type. He's not my cup of tea.
He isn't now. I'm like, ew, sick. But
yeah.
Dean Cain,
Of
number
course.
2.
Obs. That one.
Tom Cruise, Matthew McConaughey was in there, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird. But anyway, yeah. So I thought this movie was cool as fuck when I was little. Sweetie here, never seen it.
Yeah, and I remember you watching it on TV one time, and I came into the room, and it was the scene where he meets Elizabeth Shue, and ever since that brief moment in my life, I thought this movie was Dirty Dancing in Jamaica, and I thought that she was there with her family, and she falls in love with this bartender who works there, and then they dance under the waterfall and do a lift, and then and then that's it. But that's not what it is at all.
No.
Turns out it's a really shitty movie, and I had no idea, no clue.
I still think this is a good bad movie. it's a pretty terrible movie. When you give it a rewatch, you're like, oh my God, this is so cheesy. The plot's all over the place. The timeline's all over the place. Really horrible messages if you like really think about it. Decision making, etc. We'll talk about it. However, like, I still really love it. And there's a couple scenes I'm like, yeah,
Great.
Dad, I love him. I love him.
You love those scenes, or
Yeah.
you just think
Oh,
they're
I love
funny?
them.
Like, okay, well, I hope you wrote
As
them
I
down.
said today, I feel like if I was 25, I would get into a hot mess like Jordan and like fall in love with some cute bartender on my trip to Jamaica with the girls, and then he fucking dumps me. I feel like that's what would happen.
Yeah.
I don't think I would get pregnant though. No.
Right. I mean, bad choices. But,
Yeah.
okay, cool. All right. Well, I hope you wrote those down so we can talk about them. So this is based on a novel of the same name, written by, shit, I forget his name now. Something dumb. It's like
Barry Goulard.
No, it's like Haywood Gould or something. I think that's really what it is, actually. It came to me. It might be it.
Yeah, we got to give a shout out to the authors.
You can
the
buy
writers.
it on Amazon for $5 if you have a Kindle, and I suggest you do. And I think that Sweety and I are going to do a Sweety book club of Cocktail, because I want to see if this book is terrible or not. Because I read the plot.
He wrote the script too, right?
He wrote the script, and I read the plot of the book, and it's terrible. Like, it's like
Is
the
it the
plot
same?
is written terribly. Yes, it's like Brian Flannigan is the guy who has it all, and he makes all the wrong decisions, from Jamaica
Exactly.
to Wall Street to blah blah blah,
Yes.
and it's like, okay, and then it ends with being like, Brian Flannigan, one of the world's most iconic characters.
What? Who wrote that?
I know.
Summary.
I think Haywood Gould wrote it, but it's so weird, and
Yeah,
it
we're
just
definitely-
sums up the
Oh
movie
my
like
God.
to a T.
Wait, hold on. That's a really good idea to have a Sweety book club, because so many of our movies could potentially be based on books and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that would be kind of cool. Oh my God, guys, who wants to join the Sweety book club?
Sweety Club Book Club?
Yeah.
Whoa.
DM us for info.
Is that too many clubs? Sweety Club Book Club?
Sweety book club.
But it's the Sweety Clubs Book Club.
I think that's too many clubs. Let's just do Sweety book club.
Okay. All right.
Keep it simple. Keep
Sweety
it simple.
Book
One club
Club.
only.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. DM us on Instagram or Twitter for more
If
info.
you want
Or
to join,
tweet us back.
we'll send you a membership card.
Yeah,
In the
there will be a membership card. And if you don't read the book, you have to give us something.
From now on, I'll be known as Star.
Okay.
Star Dumas. And Emily will be Annie Dumas.
You have to explain that.
Okay, so Sweetie and I joined the Jelly Belly fan club. When
was
we
the
were little.
coolest.
It was cool. I forget how much money it was, but you sent it in and you got an actual membership card. So Sweetie and I were like, let's change your names. So I picked Star with 2 R's, as one does.
And I was obsessed with the movie Annie, still am, and put Annie Dumas. And then, funny story about that, I carried that card in my wallet like literally my whole life. And then I went on a field trip in 9th grade, and my crush Liam Mulaney like sat next to me on the bus and like went through my wallet. And he's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's my Jelly Belly Bean Club card." And he's like, "This isn't yours. It's someone named Annie Dumas."
Oh my god.
Annie Dumas.
That's the best story ever. Who's Annie Dumas?
So he goes, Annie Dumos, because I like wrote it so bad it looked like Dumos.
Oh, it didn't have like the name on it, like a credit
No,
card.
you had to write your name in. That's how we could do it.
Oh, I thought we like put it in and then sent it. Anyway, but it was a cool club, and you got like free jelly beans, new flavors every month.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Anyways, so that's why I am Star and Annie.
Long tangent, weird story.
Anyways,
oh my god,
okay.
we're so weird.
So, sorry, we had pina coladas pre-mixed.
I think it's the sugar. It's not even the
I
alcohol.
know every
Like,
time.
it's too
Every
much
time.
sugar.
The margaritas too. Maybe all nutty. Okay. Anyways, all right. Okay, so let's move on. So, anyways, written based on novel, probably a terrible novel. We'll let you know. You too, if you join the club. And yeah, I mean, it's true 80s.
Yeah, it's such an 80s movie. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gross. But I think the best way to really talk about it is to pick it apart via the synopsis.
Ooh.
So let's get into it. One margarita and what is that called?
Red eye.
Red eye at a time. They drink a lot of red eyes in this movie, which if you don't know, it is tomato juice, vodka, a raw egg,
And
maybe something
Tylenol?
else. Yeah. Oh, Tylenol.
Yeah.
Which is like, does that melt in there? Like, what's
know.
happening?
What's happening?
Anyway,
You just swallowed
time
it.
for the Sweety Synopsis. Yeah, Sweeties. Down in Kokomo, we'll get there faster if we take it slow. That's where we wanna go. Way down in Kokomo.
Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take ya.
Anyways, Brian Flannigan is a dreamer. He was in the army. Unclear what he did there.
Fought the bad guys.
What bad guy? Were there bad? I asked Sweety this. I was like, was there a war? Was there anyone to fight in the 80s? I don't know. Seemed like they didn't do a lot of stuff.
My question
So-
is, where's he from? What's this
Right,
small town?
We know nothing about
He's just
him.
like cornfields.
Literally
and-
nothing about him except that he
hops
has
a
an
bus.
uncle in New York City who owns a bar. He's like, what's up, Uncle Pat? I'm out of the army. I need some money. I need a job. And he's like, okay, kid, like, good luck with that.
Yeah, but he's like, thing with Brian Flannigan, he's fucking cocky as hell.
Yeah.
He thinks he's going to jump from army straight to Wall Street.
Yeah,
he doesn't
that's what he wants
have
to
a
do.
college degree. He's like a budding entrepreneur. He has all these ideas, but he has no degree and no experience.
It's the cock and cocktail.
Yeah.
So he goes to the big city, goes to like a zillion and one interviews, randomly has an afro all of a sudden. So I don't know what the time between this was. We're not sure.
Yeah, you
It's
don't
just,
know
like,
the timeline
weird.
basically at all of this entire movie.
He's going to all these interviews. Everybody's like, you don't have any experience. You were just in the army. You don't have any experience. Bye. Which is funny because now veterans get like preferential treatment almost. So it's like, was this movie the reason?
Yes.
So veterans
I'm
watch Cocktail and they're like, this is a problem.
Yes, I'm sure this is Ronald Reagan's favorite movie. He's like, let's correct this.
So he's like, okay, I'm going to go to this shitty bar. I forget what that bar is called.
It's called TJF
Are
Fridays.
you sure?
Yes, the girls wear the striped red and white
I know,
striped
but
shirts.
I thought you were just joking or
No.
something. Okay, anyways. So he goes there, and it looks like a seedy it looks like a seedy ass bar. Like, it looks crusty
That
and
might have
dusty.
been how Fridays used to be.
Maybe.
Before it turned off franchise.
Sadly, I Wikipedia'd to see if, like, Haywood Gould was like his true story, and he, like,
It's not.
started the TGI Fridays
Oh, that would have been
franchises,
awesome.
but no, that's
But
not
he
the
was
case.
a bartender. obviously.
I'm not sure. It didn't say. It didn't go into any specifics of his life. I know nothing about
Did he
Haywood Gould.
self-publish?
Possibly. I don't know. It's unclear. Okay. So he meets this guy, Doug. He's Australian. And he's like, do you want to work at this bar? Okay, cool. So he lets him work there for a night. He's terrible. He doesn't know how to make any drinks. It's a shit show. And the guy, Doug's like, cool, you're hired. It's weird.
Because Doug was looking for a friend.
I know.
And
He-
someone to like take under his wing.
Okay, so here's a few things about Doug. 1, he's an alcoholic. 2, terrible friend. 3, is obsessed with like watching people he likes kiss other people. Or is he gay? Is he in love with Brian
Yes,
Flannigan?
I think in a friend way, in the sense that like
no, I think
No,
it's
no.
more
I
than
think-
a friend.
obviously Doug's been around the block. He's also been burned many times. So he does develop this like very, let's say, friendship with Brian, quote unquote, but he really doesn't like know how to be a friend because he has all these like weird rules. So the thing, basically Doug speaks in like what is even that called? When he like he does this thing, Coughlin's Law, and he like has this little almost religion about himself, which is like how like egomaniac is that?
His name is Coughlin?
Yes.
Oh.
So so it's almost
I
like
kept being
he's
like, who
quoting
is that?
like, like, oh, Murphy's Law or
Yeah.
like,
Well, that's what I
stuff
thought.
like that. He makes his own laws and it's basically just like shit he spouts, which like to Brian seems like all this wisdom. But as you go on, you're like, this just a ramblings of a sad, like demented man. Anyway, that happens later,
Yeah,
but
true. Okay. So my number one pet peeve with this movie is that there's not a good, solid learning montage where Brian goes from like, I suck at bartending to like, do, 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 and he like, you see clips of him like trying to flip glasses
Yeah, you're right, you're right.
and breaking them. And then all of a sudden he gets it a little bit and he's like, I got it now. And he gets better and better and better.
Well-
that does not happen. He is just better like the next night, it seems like. But because there's no like established timeline in this movie, I don't know how long that took.
So I think that's the biggest problem here, because other than the one time when they're in Jamaica and Doug is like, I haven't seen you in 2 years, that is your only frame of reference of how long stuff takes in this movie. There's no like change of season.
No.
Like there's no one just saying, oh wow, like saw you last December or something. I don't know. There's nothing like that. So you don't know how long stuff takes. And that goes for like relationships they're in, like obviously how to learn bartending. He goes to college for a little.
Yeah,
so
he
I guess
tries
theoretically
that out.
that's like a semester. I don't know.
But how long is he there? I don't know. So yeah, he goes to college and then he's bartending at night. And apparently he and Doug are the only two bartenders that ever work at that bar. Which is surprising because it's a big bar. And whatever, but they're having fun, and it's just like an all-night party. They're the kind of bartenders that also drink like as they're working, which I have a problem with, because if anybody knows anything about bartending / has seen the movie Coyote Ugly, you can't drink while you're on the job, because I mean you can't like do your job. Like that's
I
not
feel
what
like
you
they
do.
mostly did it after though. I don't think anyone was in the bar when they were drinking.
He like did the shot and then like took it. Well, that was at Cell Block, but
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, Doug's an alcoholic, so I'm sure he was
Right.
boozing all the time.
Right.
But they're having a wild time. They do this thing called flair bartending, you know, where they like flip the cups up in the blah, 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 blah.
Which this movie made super famous.
Yes. So then, so there's this whole side plot where Brian meets this slutty girl, Coral. And,
Oh my God. Worst name ever.
They have sex, and then they're immediately boyfriend and girlfriend for some reason. And then they're an item. But then Doug sleeps with her. It's weird. I don't know. And then Brian punches him, and they're not friends anymore.
So Doug wanted to teach him that like that girl was just like using him essentially because she was wealthy and probably had many boyfriends, and Brian was really falling for her. And Doug was like, I'm gonna be a good friend and hit on her for you to show you that like she would really just sleep with anybody who gave her attention, which does turn out to be the case. So fine, Doug, but like you suck.
Well,
like
get
he's
someone
literally
else to sleep
the
with
worst
her.
friend, and he tries to peddle off these bad selfless decisions as like, I was just trying to be a good friend to you. Like, fuck you, man. So Brian had already decided, well, they had hatched this plan to like go in on a bar together. They're going to call it Cocktails and Dreams, but they need to save up $75,000 cash.
A lot of money.
And Brian comes up with actually a really smart idea to spend the like winters in Jamaica and make like a ton of money, because you can make $100 a day there, and then come back to New York and work for a little bit there too. So you're like splitting your time, and they're just like, so he's like 3 years, we can have enough cash. And Doug's like, 3 years, that's too long.
Yeah.
Like, what is that guy doing?
I
Picking
know.
his butt at
What- I
TJ
know.
Fridays? Like,
What do you have to do? Busy bizzer? Bizersons?
He's such a weirdo.
he's so
And
weird.
that's the other thing. So Doug is obsessed with money, and his like, he doesn't actually have any ideas, but his big idea is to like marry a rich woman. He's obsessed with all the rich women who live in New York. So that was his ticket in. He calls them angels. And Brian's like, yeah, like that's okay, but like I'm gonna kind of like make my money my own way. So good for you, Brian.
Yeah.
BT Dubs, Doug looks like a like creepy bird skeleton. I don't know like who he
looks
thought
like
he was
Ryan
gonna land.
Styles. Drew Carey's like that's what he looks like. Yeah,
I mean,
so-
Brian would
so-
be the ticket to like rich ladies,
Right.
But he fucks that up, and
So,
they depart.
they have a
part
falling.
ways.
Yeah, they have a falling out from the Coral situation. And cut to however long. What'd you say? 2 years? Or he's been doing that for a while.
Yeah,
who
so he
knows?
goes to Jamaica.
He goes to Jamaica. Does this plan? Works at a resort or something as a bartender. Again, he's the only bartender at this place. I don't know if anybody here has been out there in the waves, the radio waves. I don't know what it is called, podcast waves. If you've been to a bar, but there's always more than one bartender. For some reason, Brian. So there's this another part where Brian and Doug work at this like fancy bar called Cell
that
Block,
was so weird.
and it's like 3 floors of people, like just a sea of people, and they're the only 2 bartenders.
Yeah, there's one
It's
bar.
very bizarre.
But there's also random people who like burst into poetry, and it's like a weird poetry bar,
Yeah.
even though it looks like a club. It's like an old jail like
really
looking place.
fucking weird.
But then when one person like says this weird poem, and then everyone chants, more poems, more poems, more poems. I'm like, what kind of bar is this?
I don't know, it's
So
so
then
weird.
Brian has to get up, and he like claims himself. He's like a bartender bard. Like he's like this poet who's like all this bartender, and he's actually like pretty decent at it, similar to Tom Cruise's acting career. He's a decent poet, but anyway, yeah, that bar was fucking weird.
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
like,
pretty
this
weird.
is a weird bar.
Pretty weird. But so in Jamaica, he's having a good time as per usual. He meets a pretty lady named Jordan, who is there, I guess, with her friend. The funny
Dulcie.
story how they meet. She's got a friend named Dulcie. Weird name. Weird fucking name. Dulcie drank too much champagne on the beach. She passed out.
What happened to her? She was drinking champagne in the sun. And taking a couple Percocets? Like, what?
This is really weird.
How much champagne do you have to drink?
So again, I would just like to reiterate that Brian is the only bartender, and she comes and is like, help, my friend. And he jumps over the bar and runs to the beach to tend to her friend because he's also an EMT on the side. Okay. But who's making the drinks for everyone? All the bartender, all the other people, they're like, free drinks. And they just like loot the bar. That's what I imagine happened. But anyway, so that's how they meet. And then they obviously have an instant bond, and they do all kinds of, couple things like horseback riding on the beach.
But who comes to visit?
Oh, that happens before? Okay.
Yeah.
So then Doug walks in. He's like, buddy. And then they're friends again. It's like nothing with Coral ever happened. And they're just like, yay.
I mean, it had been 2 years, but I don't know if I would greet somebody with a smile after that sort of parting
big
of
news,
ways.
guys. Doug is now married to a rich woman. So bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo.
His dream came
Doug.
true. He found his angel.
His cocktails and dreams came true. So that happened. And so Jordan and Brian begin their romance. So like I said, they do a little horseback riding on the beach. Casual wrestling, I guess, is a thing. When you're a couple, you just like wrestle.
Yes.
And have sex under waterfalls.
Have sex in the waterfall.
They did something else too that was weird. And we were like, what is
she
this?
draws his ugly portrait.
So she's an artist, and
Quote unquote.
not a great one, I'll say. She draws his picture, and it's terrible.
Don't quit your day
It's
job,
like, I could have
Jordan.
drawn that maybe a little bit better, and I'm a terrible artist.
I'm just so confused why they didn't have someone who was like a really good artist draw, the dummy photo.
Or like a Dees artist. Like, it was so
Dees.
weird. And he's like, this is what you do with your life? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, what? You make money from that shit? Girl, don't quit your
Or
day
does
job.
she? I mean-
Okay. So that's that. And then fucking Doug is at the bar with like some bros, and he's like, yo, I forget how this happens.
They're talking about like basically it's like a challenge, and Doug was like, you are never a good closer, Brian. You can never close a deal. So he basically but he like blew that essentially. Well, not really, because Doug fucked
What's
it up.
closing the deal?
I don't know. Anyway, so he says basically like, I landed my rich chick, but you could never do that because like you're not a closer and stuff like that. Yeah. So they see a rich lady at the bar, and he's like, had kind of made fun of him because he's like, you're dating this cute girl, but there's all these rich honeys here around here. Again, Doug obsessed with like women with money who want to like give them to men, which is like, is that a common thing? Because like I never really say that. Nope. Usually the other way around. So like kind of cool for tipping it on its head here. But anyway, so he spots this lady who kind of like sees right through him, but also is like plays into it. Her name's Bonnie, and she's there by herself, I guess. So he ends up like wooing her, and is supposed to meet Jordan that night because she shows up later at the bar to go meet him so they can go out, I guess. And he's drunk at this point and walking out of the bar with this cougar, essentially.
This John Cougar Mellencamp.
This John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yeah.
And fucking Jordan is pissed. And it's like, again, you do not know the timeline. So how the hell long were they in Jamaica to form this bond? They went on these very romantic dates and hung out all the time, but like you don't know if it's a week, if it's a month.
I don't know.
Like, because he's there for a while, but like, girl, like, what are you doing there for a month?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So anyway,
she sees them and is upset, obviously, because she thought they had a thing. They had sex under a waterfall, so she thought they were like an item. So she leaves. She's out of there. Brian wakes up the next morning and is like obviously upset about what he did. Tries to go find Jordan. Fucking Dulcie's like on the patio, like, she went back to New York. Sorry. And he's like, fuck. So he fucked that up. But meanwhile, I was like, all right, I guess I'll just like marry this rich bitch.
Yeah,
it's so weird. So then they begin dating, and it's like serious dating. It's not like Jordan and Brian dating where you wrestle a little bit. This is like all of a sudden he's fucking married to this girl.
Yeah, but he was just basically
sorry.
like using her for her connections,
so weird.
and then like the money and stuff too. Because really, he only did it because he tells Doug like she's gonna help set me up with like a business and a job.
So then he goes back to New York and like meets with some investors or something that Bonnie knows. But
No, she never set it up. That was why they got
she
into
never
a
set it
fight.
up, and he was like pissed about that. He brings him to this like art show. He gets in a fight with the sculptor and ruins his art. And then they break up. He breaks up with Bonnie. And then I guess he knows where Jordan works because maybe Dulcie told him or something. We're unclear. But he sees Jordan, and then she dumps like soup on his head.
Yeah, because I'm not completely sure that like he knew that she saw him that night.
Right.
Like he knows like what he did was wrong, but I don't think he knows to the extent that she knows, if you know what I mean. Who knows what?
Yeah.
Lots of knowing.
Strange.
So she's like, fuck you, dude. And like, good for Jordan, because I actually do really like her character in this movie in the sense that she pretty is like strong about the whole thing until the end. But like, really, she puts up like a good, like, okay, I don't need you. I don't need this. I don't need this, which is really great. So anyway, so she dumps like a bunch of food on him and is basically like, get the fuck out. But that guy just, won't
Doesn't
go
give
away.
up, nope.
So he cleans himself up, comes back, waits for her outside with sunglasses on, pretending to be a blind man, till she gets out of work and is like, money for my dry cleaning? And she's like, ha, 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 and invites him back to the apartment. So you're kind of like, bitch, what? You've poured food on him and had this great scene. Then you're like, sure.
Again, it's just like with Doug. People just forget about shit.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But that's not actually what happened. So they go up to her very cool loft, and you see that she has painted basically their sex waterfall all over the apartment. So clearly she's not over it.
It was more than once. That was just that main painting. She did it like a bunch.
I thought I saw it a couple places. He's like, "Is this our waterfall?" She's like, "No, it could be any waterfall."
Oh, Jordan.
But yeah, so she's like, dude, I saw you like hooking up with that old chick. Like, what the fuck? And he's like, I'm sorry. And tries to explain to her that it was a bet by Doug. And if like some guy lays down a bet, you have to take it. She's like, wow, you're 10. Like, what is wrong with you?
Weird rule.
So basically she's like, nah, like, dude, this isn't going to work out. BT dubs, I'm pregnant. Like, chew on that.
Whoa.
He's like, why did you tell me? Like, if you just invited me up here to kick me out. And she's like, you bet I did. And then he's like, why did you tell me you were pregnant? Like, she's like, I knew that was the only way to like make you leave me alone. I'm like, well, not exactly.
Yeah.
Because now he has a reason to fucking stick around.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he
does.
leaves.
Yeah. But then he finds out that she goes to stay with her parents, who, by the way, live on Park Avenue in the penthouse. So he's like, oh, she's rich? Fuck. So he goes there. Her dad's like super asshole, tries to give him $10,000 to like leave his daughter alone.
Dad?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. But with like a giant, like weird gap in his tooth. So that doesn't go so well. And then Jordan's like, get out of my life. And then Brian leaves, goes to Doug's bar. Wait, does he own that bar? Yeah, it's called Mysteria or something.
Wisteria? No,
that's
maybe
Desperate
Mysteria.
Housewives.
Yeah, so his wife's super rich, and her dad gave him money to front this bar. So that's like his investor in the bar. It's a really sweet bar. It looks like it's like on the dock of the marina, like or something.
And all of a sudden, it looks like they're on a big boat. So maybe it's a boat. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like, wow, Doug's doing pretty well. And then Doug brings him to his little boat and is like, dude, I'm not doing so well.
More money, more problems.
He's like, doesn't know how to run a bar. He only knows how to bartend. Like, he's not a businessman. So he's like fucked up. And he's, of course, an alcoholic.
I didn't know I had to buy linens. He like lists all the things he can't do. It's literally like everything. Yeah. And it's like, Doug, what are you doing?
Where have you been?
And also, like, that's why you hire people.
So
Hello.
useless.
He's basically useless.
He's so useless. So he's depressed. And then his wife comes and is like, Doug, I want to go home. Don't pass out again. And then Brian drives her home. And she's like, I don't want to talk about Doug anymore. It's always about Doug. And meanwhile, she was macking some guy at the club. So obviously they have a weird open relationship. Yeah. I don't know. And Brian's like, I could have sex with you to like get back at Doug, but I'm a bigger man. I'm a bigger man than Doug. So he doesn't do it. He leaves. He's like, I'm going to go check out Doug. So he goes back to the boat. P.S. Boat's super not safe. Anybody can just get on that boat and kill you.
Lock the cabin door. You probably can.
I don't know. It seems bad to me. So he just jumps on the boat, goes down. He's like, Doug, Doug, hello, Doug. And Doug is fucking dead on the table, slit his fucking throat with a glass bottle of alcohol. He smashed that shit and then sliced it.
Die hard to the end. I mean, who kills himself that way?
Fucking weird.
Whoa.
Doug, get a knife, first of all. Like, you got no knives on that boat?
Honestly, I
Corkscrew?
have never heard anyone in the history of the world slit their throat, suicide via that. I mean, first of all, I don't think...
Can you even do
I don't
that?
think you can even do that because you would pass out, first of all, and not enough to make like the whole cut.
Unless you did it like if you were like super strong. I don't know. It's fucked up. It's weird. It's super crazy. And Brian's like, help me.
He like touches the blood.
Yeah,
and
he's
basically it's like chocolate syrup. When I was little, I was always like, oh my God, that blood's so like thick and weird. Anyway, so they have the funeral and then he gets home and in the mail, it's a letter from Doug. Doug gets the last word. It's kind of like a bullshit letter. He's just like, hey, like, you know, trying to be like strong till the end. Like, you know, like whatever I said to you was bullshit, but I'll miss our conversations. You know, glad I got the last word, Doug. Like, it's not that great of a goodbye letter.
It's not a good suicide
and like
note.
Brian's like crying hysterically, and I'm like, dude, this only like cements the fact that this guy was a horrible friend to you.
Worst
this
friend.
is like literally the most toxic friendship
Yes.
I've ever seen. Not ever, but in a long time.
Yeah.
And it is sad because I feel like by committing suicide, there's like that just leaves Brian with like so much guilt, even though like he wasn't the bad friend. So it's like till the end, Doug was like fucking him over.
Yeah, he sucks. Doug sucks. So fuck Doug. He's done. And so then he's upset. So he goes back to Jordan's and is like, Doug's dead. And she's like, what? I hated that guy. No, I mean we know she was totally thinking
She
that.
also met him like
She
for
was
a second.
and hated him. So she's probably like, phew, okay, that crisis is over. So the dad again is being a dick and is like, I don't have my daughter. And she's like, Dad, I can make my own decisions. And then there's like there's a tussle and the butler gets punched and I don't know what happened.
And there's this weird doorman who is like basically also
doorman, that
doubles
was
as a bodyguard. He's like so intense about his job.
He's like manhandling Jordan all of a sudden, and Brian's like, "Don't touch her, she's pregnant."
That's my favorite
Pretty
scene.
great. And then Jordan's like, "I love you," and they decide after being together in that tussle that they're like, "Oh, that was scary.
And
let's be together forever."
Then they're like in the elevator and they're like both really like beautiful people, like looking like so like over their shoulder, and like the dad's like, you're on your own from now on, and then it's that like crazy 80s guitar that's like
It's so embarrassing. So then Brian and Jordan decide to get married. Congrats to you guys. Hope you make it. And then flash forward to I guess 9 months, and Brian has opened his own bar, his dream
that
bar,
was really fast.
called Flannigan's Cocktails and Dreams. Unclear if there's like a colon or like
Yeah.
what.
Which I'm glad he just didn't go with Cocktails and Dreams, because
That's
is dumb.
so stupid.
Like that's a dumb fucking
So
bar name.
dumb. And yeah, and then Jordan's like, Soup's pregnant. They're gonna have that baby. He does another fucking poem at the bar, and another bombshell, guys. She's having twins. So
She's having
You know what bothers
twins.
me though is that she tells him this. Like, he didn't go to the ultrasound appointment with her and was like, guess what, guys? It's twins. Like, that is suspect, first of all.
Yeah.
Red
He was too
flag,
busy
red
bartending.
flag.
Again, he's the only one
Please.
who works there. He works
Okay.
all the time.
What about Uncle Pat or whatever? I'm
Uncle
sure he
Pat
can
has
chip
his
in.
own bar.
Okay, what the fuck? So anyway, so that's it. And so congrats to you guys. Not sure if they make it. I'm gonna guess they don't. They had a quick relationship. I don't think they had time to build that foundation. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, their kids would be almost as old as you.
oh,
2 years younger than you now. Maybe you know them.
am I the kid? Oh, I don't know. It's like,
Are you the kid? Are you a twin?
that'd be a
Is
twist.
your last name Flannigan?
Parent Trap. I mean, everyone knows that's how it works. So that's the movie. So
That'd
again,
be a great sequel. Like,
to the Parent Trap. Oh, to
No.
Cocktail. Cocktail 2. Twins and Dreams.
cocktails, twins. I need to think about it.
Do you think he's gonna name one of the twins Doug?
Oh
I'd
God,
be like, please get over Doug. He's the worst.
he's the worst.
Yeah. So that's the movie. Again, not very well done, you guys. There's a lot of problems with it. Like I said, not an established timeline here. Have no clue other than that one time they're like, it's been 2 years. No idea. Writing, not great. Haywood, I'm sorry, but like the lines are just so cheesy, and you can just Sweet and I were laughing so much throughout this movie because it's just ridiculous.
I don't know, but I'll say like I was much more moved by it like when I saw it when I was little, but also I think when it first came out. It didn't seem as cheesy to me then.
Because you were obsessed, because you thought Tom Cruise was so cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's because that's the thing. Like, you don't have that perspective for some reason when you watch movies, I guess, when you're younger or something. But, I mean, like, the level of, like, bad lines in this reminded me of Showgirls, which is interesting because Gina Gershon is in Cocktail and Showgirls.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, whoa, is she just in bad movies? That's, like, her thing? Is that her thing? But, like, I just can't get past that. So that's my number one problem. Sweetie, what are your parts that you were talking about earlier when you said, like, your favorite part? What did you say in the beginning? You're like, you would get so excited by, like, certain parts.
Well, okay. So I'm going to start this chat off by saying I really only ever saw this movie as it would be on TV. For some reason, only turned the channel and happened upon it when they were talking about the Cocktails and Dreams idea. Literally didn't see the entire beginning when he first like gets to New York, when he talks to Uncle Pat, how he meets Doug, how he works at TGI Fridays. Like literally saw none of that early stuff, which is like kind of interesting. And I'm like, I guess that like it's kind of like makes me look at this movie a little bit different way if you only see it like 2/3 of the way in. Interesting. So really it was just like I only really remember the Jamaica scenes and then when Doug dies and then the parts at the penthouse of Jordan's parents and all those like cheesy lines and stuff like that. But it's the Jamaica scenes that really stand out for me.
Right. Again, I thought that was the whole movie.
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Which it like almost should have been because you're like, that part's kind of awesome.
Right.
Because like that's the dream, right? You're like, oh my God, I want to be a bartender in this like cool, warm place and be like,
just
like
have a
listening to that
party.
song,
Yeah.
like this magic moment.
Reggae style.
Yeah, reggae style. And this movie was really known for its soundtrack. So as we sang before, Kokomo is from this soundtrack and was actually nominated for an Oscar. This was the same year that Working Girl, the Carly Simon song "Let the River Run" won. So sorry, Beach Boys.
Do you think so? You know how like in today's Oscars they do for the best songs nominees they do like a serious introduction. They're like in the movie Coco, like blah blah blah. So do you think for like Cocktail they were like Brian Flannigan is a distressed man who is I don't know, wayward feller who can't seem to get his feet on the ground. Cue the Beach Boys, Kokomo.
But also, I feel like now
Here to sing a song from the hit movie Cocktail, The Beach Boys with Kokomo.
Right. But like the songs now, like the Oscars were just the other day, all like half the ones that are nominated have to do with like advancing the story.
Right.
Like so that's this one doesn't make sense.
I know. Or like any of the movies in the 80s. Like it's funny. So yeah, I
Well,
mean, they
like
play this
Working
song.
Girl did. Like that one works.
Yeah, but it's about the River Jordan. Like, does it?
No, the New Jerusalem, like women coming up and rising to those ranks. That was like the theme of that movie.
So they're Jesus?
What? No, it doesn't have to be necessarily biblical. But anyway, I think that's hilarious. But we have a good story about Kokomo. So our elementary school did like really inventive spring concerts songs. And we have a video of this. Our older sister, she was in 5th grade. They did the Kokomo song. And they all wore like, I remember she had to borrow like our mom's like Hawaiian like shirt. And then she wore like white pants and they like did this song. Wait, was it them singing? It was the real Beach Boys song and them just dancing to it.
I'm pretty sure they were just dancing.
Yeah, they were just dancing to
Yeah.
it. So they were like singing. So that song must have been such a huge hit that year that like people were like going nuts for it. And they just did this funny dance to it.
Coco. Like one of those like things where you take your hands and you do like a rolling, like a speed bag kind of almost, but like lower.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, Dana Kokomo. We'll post it on Twitter so everybody can see it.
So funny. But like also we did did I tell the story already? But like the Free Willy things, when Free Willy came out, that Michael Jackson song.
Yeah, I think you did.
So we did that for a spring concert, and we literally made like waves, and then we made this paper mache orca, and we had someone stand behind us and be do like a Free Willy thing.
We did the
and
Lion
my dance
King,
teacher
yeah.
did the choreography.
We did the Lion King when I was in 3rd grade or whatever. And
Yeah,
like that was
maybe this is all schools, but I feel like our school, I was like, wow, that's like pretty cool and contemporary. Go Eastham Elementary School, EES.
What? Anyways, yeah, that's Kokomo. Also the Hibby Shakes, big song in this. That's a big one.
But so anyway, so back to
Oh,
Jamaica.
sorry.
Jamaica, man.
Songs.
So yeah, the waterfall sex scene, as a little kid watching that, I was like scandalized, okay? First of all, they don't show anything. There's a lot of side boob. There's side boob.
Yeah, show quite a bit of side boob.
Yeah.
I was
But
like,
do you
whoa.
think that's where she conceived? That's what I always thought.
You made it sound like that was the first time they had sex, or someone made it sound like that was the first time they had sex. Isn't there a line where he's like, "You think we have sex one time under the waterfall and you were like married or something?" I don't know.
That's the only. Whoa.
That's what I thought.
Because she does seem a little prudish. I'm just saying, from the clothes she wears and her attitude.
They also have sex on the beach and like all night. Like so, it's daytime when in the waterfall scene. They probably have sex then. Cut to nighttime by like a bonfire, and they're still having sex, which is not how sex works. And you don't have sex all day. I'm sorry. Have you ever had sex with a guy all day?
They probably got up, did some stuff, then had sex again. They don't show them barbecuing
it was
hot
probably that like
dogs.
terrible sex that like is forever, and you're like, I just want to go to bed. What? We're like limp dick. No, no one else has that. Okay. Anyways, so.
She just told me earlier today that she had sex on a bench one time and didn't want to. And I was pretty sad about it.
I was pressured. I don't know.
That was the saddest story I've ever heard.
It was pretty sad. But yeah, so that scene was pretty steamy. And I can see as a child, I would have been like, wow, I can't wait to have sex under a waterfall when I'm older.
It's pretty romantic.
And now, but it's a letdown.
I will
then
say,
you just have sex on a bench and you don't want to. So
I will say
Thanks.
that, like, as much as I like the Jordan character, seemed like a total friend ditch what she did in Jamaica.
Oh, yeah.
And I would be pissed at my friend who'd be like, hey, I met some cute bartenders, see you never. Like,
that's the real sequel.
and I don't know if like she went with not just Dulcie but another friend, but like I would be pissed.
The real sequel is whatever happened to Dulcie. I just want to make sure she's okay and not drinking too much champagne in the sun, you know? Like, I just need to know.
I mean, that's a shitty vacation. And also, I just feel like they spend so much time together. And I'm like, when is Brian working his bartending shift?
Yeah,
if
because
they're like,
he's working during the day
Yeah.
and at night.
Yeah.
It's not like just at
how
night.
are you going to make $400 if you're off like having dates all the time and
don't
having
know.
sex in a waterfall?
I don't know.
Sex waterfall.
Wasn't I thought the whole like Jamaica plan was that they were going to make their own bar in Jamaica because you didn't
No.
have to pay taxes? Oh.
No.
Okay, forget it.
Well, I thought that was weird when he was like, there's no taxes down
Right.
there. But like they were getting paid in cash anyway.
right.
So what
so what
does
does it matter? That's why I was like, that's why I thought they had their own bar. But
I don't know how easy it is just to like set up shop and just work in a different country.
I know.
Usually you need like visas and stuff, but maybe Jamaica is like a little bit easier. Anyway, it seemed like a good time, but like if you know anything about Jamaica, those resorts are like kind of bullshit because it's like sandal stuff, all inclusive, all white people, and then the rest of the country is like somewhat poor and sad. So it's like, ugh, not
but
feeling
can
like
be
great
on a
about it.
bobsled team. So
Fuck yeah.
yes. But yeah. So were those your only favorite parts?
I mean, the whole movie's my favorite part. I still really like
the
this
beginning
movie.
part?
Well, it was interesting because I'd never really seen it, so I was like, "What is all of this stuff?" And like him in like the weird like community college class, like the sketchiest looking people. You're like, "Whoa, community college is like
Yeah.
crazy people in that," and like the weird like crazy professor who's like such a dick to everyone, and it makes Brian be like, "I can't do this," but really like stay in school because if he like had gotten a degree, maybe he like could have gone somewhere.
Finance again, so fucking boring. Just like we talked about Working Girl. Like, come on, snooze fest. Okay, so my big takeaway from this movie was obviously 80s. Got so excited when they went to Jamaica because you guys, my favorite thing is 80s bathing suits. Oh, love it. They're terrible. They're just like these really ugly colors and cuts. Like they're like,
So
let's
many
make the ugliest
butts.
bathing suit ever.
A lot of butts.
A lot of frills, like ruffles,
Fringe.
weird things. The crotch is way too small in like all the bathing suits.
And high cut legs.
High cut. Ugh, I hate that. And then my other favorite thing about the 80s are the 80s tans, which are so tan that they end up looking a little red, but it's not a burn. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like too tan. You're crisp. You're too crisp. You're extra crispy as a white person. When a white person gets way too tan, you turn that like gross, like brown reddish kind of color, and you're just like,
They wanted
like the
it to
Glennies were that color.
Make it look realistic.
Oh, I just hate that so
Like you're
much.
just on the cusp of the burn.
It just grosses me out.
What about the 80s Art Deco parties?
Again, it's like white space or like a black checkered floor, and then these terrible sculptures that I guess are art. I don't know. Whoever did the art design or whatever that's called, the production design, props, I don't know. Terrible job. You guys could have put in like a little more effort to be like, this is a believable artist.
But maybe you're supposed to think that guy is kind of like a horrible artist, and that's like what New York is about. That people get funded that have like no talent. If you like know people,
I don't know if Cocktail was trying to be that deep though. It's like this is the problem here. But yeah. So Art Deco. But that was the only time I noticed the Art Deco.
in her apartment.
Her parents' apartment was a little more classic.
No, Bonnie's apartment.
Oh, Bonnie's. I only remember the bedroom.
And she
Bonnie
was
does
doing the
exercise, does aerobics tapes in the morning. Great. Love that. Love the aerobics craze
really work
in
those
the
hips.
80s. She's got those buns of steel. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I got. I was just really excited about those bathing suits. Good times.
Except Jordan's is like grandma.
Snooze
It's
fest.
like a black spandex, like so boring. And kind of like all her clothes are.
It's just
She's
like-
very marmy.
It's just
dressing.
like the Weekend at Bernie's girl.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like, why are you 50 years old stuck in a cute body? Like, what?
Yeah, but I think that was supposed to be her character, that she was kind of like that sort of person, even though she was like very cute and pretty, but she just like didn't care about that stuff. And she's like, I'm just gonna like do stuff my own way.
True.
But I mean, I do love these 80s movies that have this like Weekend at Bernie's, like Working Girl, this like that yuppie culture and that like 80s obsession with money and that like, still people are on Wall Street and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's because like after the crash that you just look at those jobs so differently.
Yeah. I mean, it's not doing as well as it once. The thing with
Right.
the 80s is that, like, and we've said this before, there were really like no problems. I mean, I'm sure maybe there were, but like I feel like in the 80s and the 90s we were like, woo, you had no problems, so you just did cocaine all the time and created your own problems. And I think that's what happened in the 80s. That's my working theory. But
Yeah, people just seemed like bored and a mess. Or they were bored and then because they were bored, they were like a mess because they're like, well, nothing else to do. And they're just like fuck up my life by like making dumb decisions, which is like basically what this movie's about. But yeah, and they obviously are like hanging out with like tons of rich people on and off. So you just like see that culture of just people being like, oh, like I'm just like so fucked up at these parties and I'm like rich and wearing like a fur coat and this mini little
fur
dress
coats.
like with nothing underneath it and like showing up in limousines to like an art gallery party. And I don't know, it's just like it does seem weird now looking back and thinking that like that they're like people lived like that. And not to say that people aren't still living like that, but it just seems such like an outdated concept. Like rich people aren't that level of rich now almost. Like if you're rich in New York, you probably own like a sick brownstone in Brooklyn and like shop at the farmer's market and like have like a second home. I don't know.
Nobody's really rich, so it's like I don't know.
I mean, obviously we don't hang around with them,
Well,
so we
because
don't
New
fucking
York's
know.
so expensive that like even if you're rich, you're still like not rich. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's
for
really,
the most
really
part,
rich
unless
people
you're like
there.
on the very top tier.
Yeah, I think there's really rich people there, but they blend in more. I don't think it's so much as like
blend in with society.
yeah, and I just don't think is as much of like a caste like system. Like if we watch, which I hope to soon, Crocodile Dundee. Remember when they go to that party and it's like that same thing where it's like this party in someone's apartment and they're all like dressed to the nines, even though it's basically like a house party. And he like goes into the bathroom and the guy is like going to do cocaine. And Mick Dundee's like, oh no, like he thinks he has a cold. He's like, he's sniffing, and he's like, oh no, I have like a really good remedy for that. So he takes his cocaine and like puts it in hot boiling water and has him like steam his face over it because he thinks he has a cold.
What did he think the cocaine was?
I don't know, some like herbal medicine or something. It's so funny. Oh my god! But it's like just like it's so 80s of basically people just like blowing like money up their nose.
Yeah.
Sucking money up their nose. Whatever you call it.
Literally with a dollar bill, like,
Yes.
like sucking that up.
And it's not that people don't do cocaine anymore.
Oh, they do.
Hell,
It's back.
I just saw cocaine like a couple
Yeah,
months ago,
it's
and I
back.
was like shocked.
It's weird.
It's a party. It's a regular old hang around drug now.
Yep. So big news. Well, from my life, guys, I once studied to be a bartender.
You
So
took tips.
I had a weird. I took tips.
That class,
Oh,
the
well,
tips class.
tips.
Isn't it called tips?
What's tips?
It's like some class you take to be a
Tipsies?
bartender.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if that's what. I don't remember it being called that. I think that's weird.
To
I'll have
ensure proper
maybe I'll look it
service.
up.
Do you know that's what tips stand for?
Oh no, I did not.
What?
Good to know. I thought I was like tips.
It's an acronym. It's an acronym. Isn't that crazy?
Well, why isn't it all caps? So
It's now in the modern vernacular.
So when I was in college, I had this brilliant idea where I was like, I want to be a bartender and make a lot of money. So they were offering this bartending class, and it was like a ridiculous amount of money. But I convinced my mom and dad to give me the money because
How
it was
much money?
like I want to say like $300 or like
Whoa.
$400. But like to me, that was a lot of money. I obviously didn't have that money in college. Didn't have a job, so that was a lot.
This
Maybe it
was gonna be your
500? I
job.
don't know. And I was like, I'll make it all back because I'll be a bartender and I'll make tons of money. So I go to this class, and it's like a 2-day event, and it's interesting, and it was fun, and you got like one of those little spouts to put on the liquor bottle, and you learn how to do like the like if you hold that bottle upside down for like 1 second, it's like 1 ounce or whatever the shot is. It's like one shot.
You didn't learn any
So
flair
you don't
bartending?
measure it. So he talked about flair bartending like a little bit in the class, and was like, some guys like to do that. Like, don't do that unless you get like really experienced. So we didn't learn any of the actual things, but we learned how to make a lot of drinks, and you take a test at the end, and then you get certified if you pass. So I did. So I was certified, but then I never got a job because I was too afraid. So,
God.
so I mean, hello. Obviously, if you have a vomit phobia, like, don't be a bartender. I don't know
Nobody
why.
is vomiting
I
at
don't know why I
bars,
thought that was a
though.
good idea, but I don't like being at bars with lots of people drinking a lot. You know, like it's not the career for me.
Literally, I've never seen someone throw up at a restaurant or a bar.
Well, I'm just saying it's not, but that's because you're not there every night. My friend
Nobody does that.
Izzy worked at the Beachcomber, and there were like drunk girls that would like puke, not make it to the bathroom in time, and like puke on the floor. So it's.
It depends on the establishment you're working at. You could work at a bar that is not a place where people are
I know,
throwing
but
up.
if you think of me as a person, do you think I would be a good bartender? Yes or no?
Well, I mean, I think there's certain qualities that have to come with bartending, right? So, like, I think you have to be willing to talk to people who you necessarily don't want to talk to. So
I
maybe
do-
not.
Yes, and I don't like that.
You do have to keep your cool because when stuff gets busy, it's really easy to get flustered and then like make mistakes.
I'm good at that.
I don't know in the food service drink setting because I think you'd be too worried that people are going to throw up on you.
Oh.
So
Well, no, maybe I probably wouldn't have time to worry about that, but like
you also have to maybe be able to make change quickly.
Exactly. So again, not the job for me. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea.
Well, it was a good dream.
So instead, I got a job as a male person at the at the Department of Education,
Opposite
and
ends
drove
of the
and drove
spectrum.
a mail van around the
And ate
campus,
sandwiches
and
in a
then
van.
sat in the parking lot for 2 hours and read my book. And I was like, oh, the mail takes so long to deliver, but it really only took like a half an hour, and then I just read in the parking lot. Best job ever. But that was my bartending story. So, guys, if you need a drink, maybe I'll remember how to make it for you. Probably
Yeah.
not. I don't think that certification does need to be renewed. I don't know. Am I still a certified bartender? Let's ask.
I doubt
Tips?
it. No. Stop. I mean, I think that I would have liked being a bartender, but I think the late nights it's a little too late for me to be like up and doing that stuff. And I think I would just be like too jealous that other people were having fun and I was stuck behind the bar working.
Right.
So I'd be like,
It's not like Cocktail where like you get to drink and have
no,
fun
that's
too.
the thing. I was like, there's one scene where he's at the TGI Fridays. He's having like so much fun with all the waitresses and this and that. And it's like packed in there. I was like, I have never seen a bartender have that much fun in my life. It just seems like a really tough job. You do make really good money, but it's like, I don't know. It just seems really hard. And you do have to deal with drunk people, which is like, gotta get old.
So I think it was Drink Master. Maybe that's what it was. I don't
What's
know.
tips? Google that.
Hold on. I just want to see.
It's
I'm
like
just gonna
tips,
try a UMass bartending class.
certification
Oh,
or something.
with a twist? Bartending with a
No.
twist?
That's probably something, but
Maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Look up
what
tips.
tips? All caps?
tips bartending something.
Tips bartending. Tips certification online. Well, that's online, so that's like
What is it? So what is it? Is it for bartending though?
yeah.
Yeah.
only $40. Get your tips card in 3 hours. That doesn't seem legit. How can you be certified to be a bartender online if you're not like making actual
I think
drinks?
it's just like random rules, like how not to overserve people. What do you do if
Yeah.
they are? It's just like kind of like that kind of stuff. Because I know that at the restaurant I used to work at, they like sponsored some people to go get that done who maybe wanted to work at the bar, like as a bar back and stuff. So it's just kind of like that kind of rules. But yeah, I mean, the bartending culture is very interesting. And the thing is like you can be like a lifetime bartender. I've gone out with a couple guys who were like, yeah, like I'm a bartender. And they're like really fun. And man, can they drink? But like in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, you're going to be like a 50-year-old bartender. And again, like that schedule sucks.
You're going to be Doug.
Well, I like went out with this guy, Harold the Third.
Are you changing his name for secrecy?
No, what was his last
Oh.
name? Smith.
I don't know.
Hey, Harold Smith.
It's
the Third.
clearly she's not. She's giving everybody his full name. Look him up.
And he was a bartender, and he was like really cool. But in my mind, I was like, we went on a couple dates, and I was like, man, like this schedule kind of sucks though. And like, and he really liked it, which is like totally fine. But if I was just like thinking like, man, what if we have kids, and like his schedule's like 6 to 3, and I'm like, damn, you're never home. And he ghosted me, so it didn't matter.
No, but it's ideal. That's like in Sex and the City, where like he stays at home with the kid during the day.
But you never see
get
each
home.
other.
Yeah, so it's like that's like ideal because that's what
You're
breaks
such
the
a
marriage.
romantic, sweetie.
Marriage breaks when you see each other too much and hate each other. I don't know.
Speaking
I
of
think
Sex
it
in
could
the
work.
City, did you see Cynthia Nixon might be running
Yes.
for governor of New York?
I hope it's true.
God bless. That'd be so cool.
Love her. Because if anyone who's not a politician should be a politician, it's her.
Miranda
not
for the
motherfucker,
win.
whatever his face is. Yeah, I totally saw that. A lot of good news items today. So, I mean, that was a little while ago, but very exciting. Anything else you would like to discuss?
I thought this was the coolest movie when I was 10. Pretty
We
cocky
know.
shit. Tom Cruise, 80s to the 90s. What do you feel about the Friar Tuck cocktail?
Remind the folks at home what that is.
Frangelico, grenadine, and then a couple other ingredients. It seemed like a really sweet,
Did
gross.
you say in lime or something?
Yeah,
like
drink.
gross.
They
Disgusting.
named it, I mean, there's
So-
tons of drinks named
Yeah.
in this, which is kind of interesting.
There's a part in this, it's the night where he first tries to bartend, and I feel like the direction for everybody in that scene was like, they gave the extras like 3 choice lines that they could say, and then they said them all once in a while. So someone would be like, "This is the wrong drink. Where's my drink? I didn't order that." And it's that, and it just cycles.
It's like
through
a
that.
bartender nightmare.
And then they give everybody a different drink. So everyone says a drink like Friar Tuck, kamikaze
Cuba
shot.
Libre.
Cuba Libre. It's like every drink they just open the bartending manual and like, okay, this one's yours, this one's yours, this one's
The
yours.
last drink the guy orders is like, I'll have a martini, or where's my martini? And he's like, what's in that again? And he like passes out. I mean, not really, metaphorically, but it's so funny. There's this part where the waitress is like, where's my Cuba Libre? And then finally it's like just a rum and Coke, and he's like, why did you tell me it was just a rum and Coke? I don't know. He gets really pissed off. It's funny, but there is a lot of good drinking.
There's
stuff
some
in
gross. So in bartending school, there's one
professional.
There's one, and I forget which drink, what it's called. Wait, is it the Singapore Sling? There's some drink where there's not like a set recipe for it. It's like whatever the bartender wants to make, like, is what it is. And then there's another one where the drink is just, those like the mats that are on the bar where like it collects all of the stuff that spills out. He just takes that and like dumps that in a cup, and that's the drink.
Ew.
Yeah, what is that one called? I'll have to look it up.
Sounds like Dad's soda thing.
Tell them what Dad's soda.
Okay,
thing
so
is.
Ron Dumas, super thrifty fella, and didn't like anything go to waste, right? So that was like his big thing. Our dad was not cheap by any means, but like he just like never wanted things to go to waste. So we had this habit, we'd have like all these sodas, and we were particular fans when we were growing up of like Mountain Dew, maybe an occasional Coca-Cola. Root beer was a favorite. Schweppes, like raspberry ginger ale. But if you buy those soda bottles and we would never refrigerate them. They would for some reason always be warm in the fucking pantry. So we would because we must have just been crazy about ice cubes. So then they would get down to like the dregs. So maybe like the last quarter, but by then they'd be flat. because you would open it so many times and pour it. So my dad would take the dregs of the soda bottles, of all the soda bottles that had like, an eighth of it left, and make one soda cocktail out
That
of
was
it.
flat.
That was
It's
also
all flat.
flat.
Because you didn't want to waste it. It's so great. Classic Ron.
But that was like such a thing for us. Remember, like not finishing our liquids, the juice.
The soda
thing?
gets flat. I hate 2-liter bottles of soda. Like I hated them
No,
because
but remember orange juice? He would get so mad at you for not drinking all your orange juice.
Well, I would put too much in the cup. It's just like, give me this cup. I can fill it all up. I really only needed a sip. I really only needed a shot of orange juice, Dad.
Oh my god, would he get so mad at you for like
I know
pouring a whole glass of
he
orange
hated
juice?
Ron hated wasteful things, which unfortunately I feel like we did a lot. So the drink is called, so the one that the bartender in my class told us, I think he said it was called Buffalo Sweat, which is an ounce of bourbon, several dashes of Tabasco, plus whatever the bartender can wring out of the bar rag, which sounds really not sanitary. So maybe it's the bar mat. And then everyone else just says it's called the bar mat drink or the bar mat shot. Disgusting. So that's it. So I knew it was real. Yeah. Good times. Good times, guys. Anything else?
One time I went to this bar. It was like this horrible bar, and I had the worst time at it. And I remember I got my card at the end of the night, and like luckily I didn't just like sign it and go, because it ended up being like over $100, and I only had like 2 drinks. And I'm like, what's this? And there was like 5 shots of Captain Morgan's on it, and I was like, what? And the girl's like, oh, like you didn't get those? And I'm like, no. So I don't know if like they put them on by accident, or like someone was like, oh, it's on, and like heard me give my tab like when I went up one time, and then like remembered and came back and was like, oh, Dumas is my tab.
I always
couldn't
wonder
figure
that
it
because
out.
like it seems like such a shoddy way to do that. Like
Yeah.
you just
And
have
that
all the
same
cards,
night-
and then you have to trust them to
Yeah.
like see the card in the dark, like the bar, and like,
Oh yeah, and then the same night, right before I ended up getting the bill, I'm like, oh, I like to close my tab. Like, my name's Dumas, blah, blah, blah. And she goes to look for it, and she's like, oh, your card's not back here. I'm like, where is it? She's like, I don't know. It's not here. I'm like, I left it with you. And she
Yeah.
like gave me a hard time about it. It was on the ground.
Oh my god!
Like, oh, here it is. Runs it. And then there's like $100 worth of Captain Morgan shots on it. I'm like,
Oh, that was the same bar?
yes.
Oh my god, what bar is this?
God,
Bell in Hand? No.
it's that one like near North Station that has like the jazz brunch.
Oh.
Like West End Johnny's
Lucky
or something.
Star or something.
No, it's like West End Johnny's. It's in the
It's
West
not
End.
Lucky's? Oh.
No, I love Lucky's.
Oh, okay.
Lucky's is cool.
I see. Well, I see. Well, that's a terrible story. That's why you should not go to bars, you guys. No, I'm just kidding.
I love bars, but
Yeah, good times.
I definitely don't hang out in them as much as I used to and late at night anymore. But man, did I have a good run. There's
for
some
you.
good late nights, but
Right.
now I'm responsible, and it's
Just
all my
drink-
friends are
yeah.
pregnant or have babies, so
So we just drink a bottle of wine here and then podcast. So
yeah, I mean, it really is so much better.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I
is.
love bars, but there's just some that are just the haven of people from the ages of 23 to 28, let's say. And I never thought I would hear older people say that, and I was like, nah. I was like, I'm coming to these bars forever. Like, this is so fun. I love it. And then when you do go to them now, you're like, okay, I totally get what that person was saying. Like, you do like peak and max out of like your time being able to spend around that kind of environment.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, I think.
yeah,
But
right.
I never thought it would happen to me.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Party Sweetie.
Pretty sweetie. It's like I'm a Barbie. Party sweetie, yeah.
Love it. Okay.
Let's party.
Good run. Good run. Okay, cool. Good episode. Again, if you want to read the book, to let us know. We'll all read
Yep.
it together.
So that'll be our Sweetie Book Club for March.
We'll have a discussion on Twitter.
Yep.
And it'll be fun. It's only $5, so get it now.
It's I thought you meant to join the Sweetie Book
No,
Club. I'm like,
no, the
why are
Sweetie-
we charging our awesome
Sweetie
fans?
Book Club is free.
I mean, we could charge $5, send you a membership card, and then you have to make up a fake name.
Yeah, and it better be a good one. It better be as good as Star and Annie.
Star 2 hours.
Where did I get that? I had to have gotten it from somewhere.
I feel like you're always like a prostitute deep down inside
Right?
with your prostitute
It's
name.
so weird. I don't get it. Anyways, so thanks guys for listening. Find us on Twitter at the Sweetie Club, Instagram Large Mart sent us. Thank you as always for listening. Love you guys. Love you. Bye.